Right. I thought I was pretty much done on the old Jeremy Bamber case, but actually a couple more things have cropped up. Basically, what I'm trying to demonstrate is with one of these, any sort of complex case, no matter what avenue you go down, the more you investigate, the more everything should point to one particular answer. Okay, in science, sometimes they haven't figured out some things because they do experiments, and it, especially in astronomy, about physics and whether the universe is collapsing or whatever, and someone comes up with a theory and they try experiments. But I think with a lot of, say, murder investigations, everything, if someone's guilty, everything should be flowing towards guilt, and if someone's innocent, no matter what avenue you go down, what branch you go down, it will move towards innocent. And that's the case with Lucy Letby. I've been researching the case for like how many years now? Almost, at least 2 years anyway, and I hadn't found anything at all that pointed towards guilt. But I'm just going to show you with the Jeremy Bamber case, no matter what bit you look at in detail, it does go towards guilt. So we're going to be looking at the weapon. Now, Jeremy Bamber told the police that Sheila had a lot of experience with a gun, but then later admitted that the only experience she had was, I think they went on a shooting holiday, but it would not have been with this particular type of gun. But that was when that was before she was even an adult. So all the rest of her family, 5 or 6 other people who knew her, said she wouldn't even know the barrel from the handle, and she wouldn't know how to use it or anything. So let's take a look.
Right, okay then. Right.
This is the anchors. He's putting the magazine in.
Cock it and just pull this back.
You've got to cock the first bullet.
Right, what's that? It's not there, that's not right. That's better.
Try again.
I've used it for a while, I've forgotten how to use it probably. Okay, right, magazine in.
Cock the first bullet.
Safety on.
Safety. And then you can fire away. And I'm just going to show you quickly about loading the magazine as well, because Sheila would have had to have done that. So the only one I could find is people who have found a way of doing it, make it look easy, a bit like the reason they're posting it is because they've made it look easy. But you put it in vertically and then sort of twist it down into this clip. But as you get more and more in, it actually gets harder and harder to push them in, because they're on a spring. Okay, so that's why they were saying maybe she only loaded 8 in there, because by the time you get to 9 or 10, you're going to break break a fingernail. So there's 10 rounds in this. So what I was saying about there being a problem. So she hasn't fired this gun before, and as you can see, you've got a cock. You put, well, the clip was already in. Okay, so let's make some assumptions. Let's try and do everything in Jeremy's favour. Let's say that the safe, I don't know how or why, well, it just wouldn't be, the safety would not be off, because Jeremy, if he went out to look to shoot some rabbits, when you're walking between shots, you would put the safety on. Okay, so the safety is going to be on. But the clip, Jeremy says he left the clip in the gun. Okay, so it's good to fire, but we don't actually know whether or not he cocked. So it's a semi-automatic. But you've got to cock the first bullet in the chamber. So what that means is you're manually loading that bullet in the chamber, and then after you fire the first shot, the rest sort of just flow up as part of the mechanical actions. You've only got to cock that first one. Now, the problem is, of all the shots fired in the house, there were 25 shots fired. All of those 25 shots that were fired had hit someone. So what are we saying? That Sheila at 3:30 in the morning, circa 3:30 in the morning, goes into the kitchen. She's having some sort of psychotic episode. She gets up in the middle of the night. Oh, this is another problem. I've just thought of it. It's half 3 in the morning that the phone call came in from Neville. He was saying, Jeremy was saying. So actually, Sheila's up in the middle of the night, but she's not actually wearing a nightwear. She's wearing something else. I don't know what yet, but she's not in her nightie yet. So I don't know why, but she's having some sort of episode at 3:30. Goes into the kitchen, finds the gun. We can assume everyone else is asleep in the house when she finds this gun. Now, when she goes to fire it, she's got to have taken that safety off. Maybe she doesn't have to cock that first bullet, but then what if she doesn't have to cock the first bullet? See, that then raises another issue with the reload, because if she didn't have to cock the first bullet for the first shooting, when she goes to reload it, how's she going to know she's got to cock the first bullet to reload it? So we'll assume she then had to cock the first bullet in the chamber, but there were no shots. So in order for her to figure out how to do that, if she's never used the gun before, you would think that she would try pulling the trigger to do a test shot, and then find that the safety's on, which is a little switch, and then she'd have to pull the safety switch to safety off. You would think she would pull the trigger. To try it, and then it didn't work, and then she's messing about with this cock to cock the first one, and then she would try it. But basically, there are no test shots in the kitchen that didn't hit anyone, which is a problem for me. So I'm going to go through also. I've got a whole list of issues that I've got with Jeremy's story. Now, I know what's that principle called? I don't know. Is it Dunning-Kruger or maybe not? Am I working backwards through events? I don't think I am. When you deal through a pack of cards, you could say what's the odds of this particular pack being in that order when you shuffle them. It's almost infinitely impossible. Am I doing that? Well, we'll go through it. I don't think I'm doing that, but let's see. Okay. So, right, I'm going to try and do it in order of what happened at the farm. The very last conversation Jeremy happened to report overhearing his parents and Sheila talking about was about the parents fostering the children. For me, it's a convenience. It's given an excuse as to why she might do it. You could say it's real, but my issue with that is he could have Jeremy didn't. The parents and Sheila could have had this conversation without Jeremy overhearing it. 2, the last conversation that they had could have just been about the price of fish in the supermarket. Okay. It's just very convenient, and we should know that this issue with her children being potentially being fostered was known to, I think it was the secretary. It was known. This was a real thing that was being discussed, and the fact that other people know about it, kind of, to me, means that Sheila already knows about it. So, and it had been going on for a while. So, okay, we'll let that slide. But this is what I'm talking about. I've got a whole ream of them. Right. So Jeremy happens to see some rabbits outside, which gives him a reason to have the gun in the first place. Alright, yeah, that's just what happened. But to me it's like, okay, well, he didn't have to. Alright, no, I'll let that one go. Right, now the rabbits conveniently disappear, so Jeremy doesn't actually fire a single shot, leaving the gun with the maximum number of bullets, all 10 bullets in that clip. Had he actually got out there and managed to get a few shots off, one, he could have no bullets left in the chamber, in the clip. He could have like one left in the clip, couldn't he? So then when when Sheila goes in to kill Neville, only one shot will go off, and just remember that Neville copped four bullets and had a fight in the kitchen. We'll come on to that later. So it's basically quite convenient that he never got a single shot off. So the clip is left with the maximum number of bullets. And then also Jeremy conveniently leaves the loaded gun out on the kitchen table. Okay, Jeremy conveniently also leaves just enough additional ammunition on the table that was seemingly required to kill the whole family. Okay, number 6, Jeremy, I've put it, he conveniently leaves the safety off on the gun. I can't believe that would be the case. Basically, it's a little finger. It's just a little slight finger movement that you do by the trigger, to the side of the with your thumb normally. And it's if you use a gun, you would just automatically slide it off and on as a matter of course. Maybe he did leave the safety on. And then Sheila figured out how to take it, that she would have to take it off. Now, the gun Jeremy chose conveniently of the 7 in the house happened to be the quietest with the largest magazine. So had he gone out with a shotgun instead to see shoot some pheasants or something, it would have woken everyone else up in the house after one shot. It was basically the exact right gun for the assassination of the whole family. Now, number 8, I've got Neville had conveniently apparently taken off both the scope and the silencer within the last 2 weeks. We don't know why he would have done that. We certainly don't know why he would have taken off the scope, because I don't actually know why Jeremy would have taken the scope off either, but that's a precision thing. Now, why this matters is if the silencer, if Neville had left the silencer on it, bearing in mind this probably didn't happen, but what Jeremy's saying is that Neville took the silencer off. If Neville had left the silencer on it, Sheila wouldn't be able to kill herself because it wouldn't reach. Anyway, so next. So of all the 3 adults in the house, Sheila's the one who conveniently finds the gun. So it wasn't. So had Neville, or is it June, the wife, June, found the gun, they would have locked it away, of course. Now, of all the people in the world for Neville or June to call with that infamous phone call, which I'm really going to go into detail in a minute about Sheila going berserk. Neville apparently calls Jeremy, and only Jeremy. So had he called 999, it wouldn't have been an issue. He could have called anyone else. He could have called absolutely anyone else. But unluckily for Jeremy, we will say, he called him. Bearing in mind, if you're getting confused, just remember, I don't believe any of this happened. Right. Okay. Now I'm gonna skip this about the Sheila's gone berserk because I need to talk about it in a bit. I'll go back to it. Right. So another convenience for Jeremy is that everyone actually in the house was dead. There were no witnesses. Well, I say convenience. Unluckily for Jeremy. I'll say unluckily for Jeremy. Now, Sheila, I've put it conveniently, but it doesn't need to be that. This is just an oddity that Sheila decided to wash her hands and change before killing herself. If she hadn't done that, I'll put unluckily for Jeremy. If she hadn't done that and was just wearing, and she had all the traces of lead on her hands from handling the bullets, it would be we would know that Sheila handled these bullets, but unfortunately for Jeremy, this is what the defence are saying, is that she had to have washed her hands and changed out of her clothes and into her nightie. The defence is saying this, just to clarify, the defence is saying that she washed her hands because there wasn't, when you saw me loading that magazine, it would leave a lot of traces of lead on the hands, and there wasn't enough lead on her hands for her to have handled those bullets. And similarly, there was no victim blood splatter on Sheila's nightwear, but there was on the gun. So whatever the perpetrator was wearing, they had to have gotten changed. So unfortunately for Jeremy, Sheila must have got washed and got changed before killing herself. And another unfortunate thing is that we don't know what happened to the clothes that Sheila was wearing to kill the family. And critics will say, well, the police, police treated it like a murder-suicide, and so a lot of the evidence got burnt, yada yada yada. But the problem is, if you're treating it as a murder-suicide, they still need to know what clothes Sheila was wearing to have killed the family, and we don't know what happened to those clothing. Probably because they don't exist, because Sheila wasn't wearing them. But okay, and then we're saying Sheila happened to gain extra strength from her psychiatric episode, from some sort of hormone surge, to beat her father with black eyes, broken bones, and without sustaining injury to herself. So it was a strong psychotic episode she was having, strong enough to give her such a hormone imbalance to have extra strength, but still be able to operate a gun. Now the next thing I've got is, conveniently, Jeremy arrives after the police, so as to not place him at the crime scene. even though the police expected him to be there first because he lives 5 miles closer than the police, and they told him to wait for him. And finally, we've got there was a lie from once he arrived at the farm. Jeremy gives a completely different account to Sheila's family about Sheila's knowledge or experience with weapons. Jeremy seems to think, for some reason, that Sheila would know how to use all of these weapons. Now, another thing, I'm going to skip a bit here. Right, Sheila was found with a Bible in her hand after she'd shot herself twice. Now, one thing you notice about rifles is they are actually a two-handed weapon. So, yes, you probably could, with one hand, just about do that and then fire it whilst you're holding a Bible in the other hand. But it's just a bit unnatural and awkward. And then, of course, you're doing that, and then bang, you do hit yourself fatally, but then you go and do it again a second time, still with keeping the Bible in one hand. Yes, it's vaguely possible. Is it natural? No. Of course it's not. It just doesn't do it for me. So you can see what my problems are. Now, I want to go to this phone call of that Jeremy says Sheila's gone berserk with a gun. She's gone berserk with a gun. Okay, and then the line goes dead after Neville phones him and says the line's gone, she's gone berserk with a gun, and then it goes dead. So what Jeremy is saying is that Neville only had a very, very slim opportunity to make this call, which is a little strange because the phone that Neville was dialing from was downstairs in the kitchen. That's the phone that was off the hook when the police came in. Not damaged. No, I don't believe there was any blood on it. It was just off the hook. Okay. So, what's Neville doing downstairs in the kitchen? And bear in mind, that phone in the kitchen was the old rotary style phone. If you're not sure what that is, that's what I had ready. This one. Okay, that's the old rotary phone. That's how you dial with that. So Jeremy's number at the farm would have been back then. I did look it up. I can't remember if it was 5 or 6 digits, but obviously a lot longer to dial than 999 on that. So Neville can't have been in too much of a rush to do this. Okay. So there's a real element of confusion here. So I was saying that of all the 6 words he could have Neville could have said before the line went dead. He could have just said, "Come over here now urgently for something," without implicating Sheila in any way. He could have asked a question about whether or not the gun was loaded. He could have said, "Can you come over here now? Sheila's having another episode," without mentioning a gun. But okay, he's short and precise. Sheila's gone berserk with a gun. Now, my problem with this is, what does it actually mean to say she's gone berserk with the gun? Because we know that the only shots fired with this gun had hit people. So to me, someone saying she's gone berserk with a gun might mean she's got a gun and she's firing it at the door, firing it out at the window, shooting crockery in the kitchen, doing something with it. But like I say, there were no shots fired that didn't hit someone. So what does it mean about going berserk with a gun? We know, well, and what is Neville doing downstairs at 3:30? How is he awake? Okay, Sheila's shouting or something. What's Neville doing in the kitchen? What does berserk mean? And then we know Neville got shot 4 times upstairs before making it downstairs. So what's he doing going upstairs and then coming downstairs into the... What's he doing going back upstairs after this phone call? There's no way that he's been shot 4 times and then gone and made this phone call, because saying she's gone berserk with the gun, well, firstly, I think those first, I'll double check, but those first 4 shots he wouldn't have been able to speak and there would be blood on the phone. But apart from anything else, he'd obviously be calling 999 and not Jeremy if he'd actually been shot by then. So you see my problem here. So yeah, absolutely nothing about this story is making sense to me. Another thing, just about Jeremy, really. Let's say that Sheila was mental. Of course she's mental. Well, we are saying that. Let's say Sheila did it, right? Your whole family has been wiped out. And the reason the whole family has been wiped out, to me, isn't because Sheila is mental. To me, it's because you were negligent leaving the gun and the bullets on the table loaded when there's a crazy person in the house. You know, why is there no, rather than immediately blaming Sheila and being mad at her, why is there no just acceptance of, yeah, it was, especially if your whole family's been killed. I mean, think about what Lucy Letby was doing with her notes when she didn't kill anyone, and she was feeling guilty she was full of guilt, thinking that her bad care, whereas Jeremy, his actions would have been directly responsible for the murder of his whole family. Like, wouldn't a normal person just take it on the chin and say, I might as well have just killed them all, and accept the going to prison for life for that? But I don't, as far as I'm aware, I'll double check and look into it. But all of his actions afterwards were blaming Sheila, especially outside the house, going, she's a nutter and I can't believe she done this. You would the first thing you would do if Sheila had killed everyone in all of your family, the first thing you would do would be blame yourself, surely. But yeah, it didn't happen that way. Like I say, all of this can so easily be explained with the simple fact that Sheila didn't do it. Occam's razor, I'm afraid. So going back to the gun and the reloading. So she's never used the gun before. So this is why I got stuck with the bullet cocking malarkey. She's never used the gun before, so there were no test shots in the kitchen that were fired off that didn't hit anyone. But she realises she figures out how to load it, take the safety off, cock the first bullet, fill the clip up, and then she must have put all these other bullets in her pocket, not in her nightie, because she was not wearing her nightie then. She's wearing something else before she gets changed into a nightie before she kills herself. But yeah, so what I was saying about the bullet, about cocking the first bullet, is if Jeremy left the first bullet cocked, she would fire it, okay, bang, 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 reload, take the clip out, reload it like we saw, put the clip in, and then you would think she would go to fire it again and it just not work. She would think, I don't know, it's jammed or something, that's the end of that. But then no, she would figure out how to cock the first. She would then figure out how that she has to cock the first bullet. So the fact that there's no test shots in the kitchen, to me, it's just an all-round no, I'm afraid. And the whole Bible malarkey, operating it with one hand, no, sorry.